Okay, we are now recording. Welcome everyone to the September 18th iteration of the MicroProfile live Hangout. It is everyone's shared responsibility to take notes, and the link to the notes are in the chat. So, let me share my browser. Hello.
Hi.
How is everyone today?
Good.
Hi.
Hello,
Hey.
Amelia.
All right, I am going to figure out where Chrome is and share. All right, can everyone see the browser?
Yep.
Alrighty. So this week, the topic of MicroProfile 2.1, we're planning on delivering a release for Code 1, EclipseCon Europe, and the Reactive Summit. Where we're at right now is that open tracing is the only spec that will make the release. Config 1.4 will not be able to make the release. And based on the discussion in the groups, the Reactive Streams operators is planning a standalone release. So I think they're currently heading towards a release candidate 1 there. And they're planning to release that spec as a standalone release for those conferences, which is the week of October 22nd, I believe. So one question then becomes, since one of the drivers for this release was Code 1, should we push this release out to enable some of the other releases to, I guess, release as part of the 2.1 spec? Or should we continue along with MicroProfile 2.1 with the only update being open tracing? I apologize if there's noise in the background. So I guess I'll open it up for the discussion and get some opinions.
What's the version of open tracing that, if it makes it, it'll, what is it, 1.2, 1.1?
I believe it's 1.2, yeah.
Yep.
I think I mean only one spec being released to 2.1. I think is it's not, as you say, it's no longer a strong driver for the 2.1 release. Since we released like 2.0 and 1.4 in the 2Q.
So
the 2Q, yeah.
Yep. So, you know, the one thing that I was thinking of, I know, you know, we had this conference deadline. We were thinking, let's have something ready for Code 1. Well, with a couple of things, you know, dropping out and not able to make it, this delivery for Code 1 would be in fourth quarter. So, you know, would we really try to do a 2.2 also in fourth quarter? And I'm just wondering if maybe we should just push the 2.1 out into further fourth quarter, November, December timeframe, you know, normal operation for a fourth quarter release. And we would still allow and encourage the open tracing to complete their same thing like with the operator spec, to do it as a standalone, and they could do it whenever they wanted to. And then when we do the 2.1 release in November, December, then we would pick those up. I mean, they would have a choice. They could just complete it now since they're ready, or they could wait and, I don't know, maybe they've got other bug fixes they want to get in. But that's a thought process that I was having, and I brought it up to John yesterday, and that's why we said, well, let's bring it up on the call today to get more input.
I think for me, it boils down to, are we serious about time box releases, or are we kidding ourselves? Either we do time box releases and have a release every quarter, whether there's 1 spec or 5, or we just release whenever we feel like it. We can't have it both ways.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The one thing I'll call out, I'll just kind of interject here a little bit, is even when we started out, we were thinking between 2 to 4 releases per year. But then we did admittedly, I think, try to get to a quarterly cadence. But I'm not sure if we actually have an official stance on time box versus feature box releases. I don't know. I don't know, Ken, if you'll agree with that or not.
I'm pretty sure we had an agreement on time boxed.
That's what I recall as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we did have an agreement. I can see Ken's viewpoint too, but I'm still kind of thinking, yes, we can have time boxed and still kind of have it feature driven. I mean, we're already kind of breaking the rules. So if we would think of just doing a quarterly release, well, we wouldn't have anything ready for MicroProfile 2.1 in third quarter. So it would automatically move out to fourth quarter. But we threw in this thing with conference-driven release, and we came out, let's try to do something for Oracle Code 1. So we're already kind of playing the game, but we did have time boxes being the delivery vehicle. So if we would do a time box on 2.1 for November, then we would pick up whatever is available at that time.
Well, so do we need to just be more honest with our boxes then? Because we're going to be we are repeatedly going to want to make sure our best is available for Code 1 / EclipseCon, whatever. So, maybe the answer isn't quarterly necessarily, as we just pick 3 dates during the year and say those are our dates, and we make sure that there is one date that's a reasonable time before Code 1, and we say these are our dates, those are our boxes.
And have a date a month before, which is kind of the deadline, because people always pass the deadline. And then it gets ready in time. But what I wanted to say, I think it's better to break the cadence. I mean, what benefit do we get if we have an empty release? Just to fulfill that we get a release out. Not really helpful. The other thing I wanted to say is, I'm not quite sure if we really have those strong rules as we had in Java Enterprise and the JCP, because this is also a beneficial side of MicroProfile, that we have kind of strong guidelines and strong principles, but we don't have, my own personal understanding is this is, we don't have kind of rules which are set in stone. We are much more flexible. And of course, sometimes this tends to become sloppy if you don't take care, but it also is a really strength that we are flexible.
Very, very good point, Mark.
So how late are the projects that, are they late like a week, 2 weeks? We don't make Code 1, can we make the week after? I know that we would miss Code 1, obviously, but...
when is Code 1?
That anyone will be doing any work the week after Code 1.
Well, 2 weeks, I just...
Yeah. I think if we cooperate with our effort, like what Kevin suggested, like in the early December and etc., we release another MicroProfile 2.1. Hopefully by then we will have config 1.4 ready, and also open tracing 1.2, and hopefully reactor operators can be experimented and also included. I think that still sounds quite good. Hopefully, and also MP health check. And then a few things in the 2.2 can move to 2.1. And then in the early next year, we can do a 2.2 and still quite looks really good.
Yeah, so, I'll revisit my statement and take another run at it from this perspective. When we talk about Code 1, there is most definitely a box there. So we can't deny that there's a box there. We're we're always going to do a lot of work on the run up to Code 1. Then after Code 1, we hit basically holiday season. So we did a release during December last year, and we mutually agreed not to promote it until January because nobody was listening. And so there's not only a huge box right before Code 1, there's like no box between November and December. And
well, unless we wanted to count Debox, Belgium.
yeah, but since all the communities are usually going to be pushing their best ideas to be ready by Code 1, you barely have enough time to recover from Code 1/Java 1, put a little bit of work into your presentation, and then do it again at DevOps.
Yeah, I know.
So then if we do manage to release something in December, it's going to be super thin because we're all worn out, and it's during the holiday season, and no one's listening. So that basically means that the best time for us to do releases is like January through September, more or less. In which case, how many releases can we fit in that time frame? Is it potentially 3? In which case, maybe we just say we pick 3 dates in that time, and we make sure we don't miss them. And obviously, the one leading up to Code 1 is going to be the like early September, mid-September, late September hard deadline.
So, David, are you advocating for this specific problem? Are you advocating that we go ahead with a 2.1 release and only include the open tracing?
How much time would we have to ship config 1.4? I mean, we could say that if we add the config accessor and polish this, I'd say we should make it in 1.5 weeks if we really, really focus on this stuff.
I wouldn't just pushing one spec to be released just because the Code 1 is here. We need to implement it. We need to make sure that TCK run.
It's implemented
as well.
It's implemented.
It's implemented, but we still need to make sure implement it in as you say,
but
in the
even
but we need to make sure it's all polished up. I don't think one week is enough. So I think if we do this kind of when it's ready, it's ready, and we shouldn't rush things just to get things.
The problem is that all of us are pretty busy, and if we don't set kind of goals, then we just it will slide away for quite a long time, as it did already, because we are all working on 70 different projects in parallel. The question is, what is the latest time frame where we say, okay, this is cool. We have a week to reviews, and then we decide in or out. What would be the latest date for this? If we really focus on config and push it, because we discussed the features of that was going to be in config 1.4. We discussed this for many months in config JSR, and we have it running. There is an implementation, and I bet it's not that much work. You can get it done at IBM and JBoss as well. So there is a possibility. It's not completely...
Well, if we go off of what John had posted to that string of notes on the forum, it actually had to be done today. So config 1.4 would have to be done today in order to meet all the other deadlines required to do a MicroProfile release.
Okay, that's a bit harsh. Well,
yep.
How long does it take us to get through all the Eclipse processes in the best case scenario?
Well, the biggest issue with getting through it is lining up with Eclipse has 2 reviews, and it's the first and third Wednesday of each month.
Okay.
And so we need to have all of our ducks in a row at least a week before those reviews in order to, get on the review cycle and, being able to take it through. So if we wait till the third week, there is a possibility that, we still have, maybe a few more days here. But if we wait until that third Wednesday, then we're right up against Oracle Code 1. I suppose we could look at that and say, well, we took our best shot and we didn't make it. But that's where John and I were backing up from that and doing the first Wednesday of October as our deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
More targeted question. What these reviews, this sounds like a resource issue on Eclipse's side of the fence, and we just left a budgeting meeting talking about things that can make the community more successful, and this didn't come up. And it is a factor. Do we need to revisit that and say, could we get some more reviews leading up before the big events?
Well, definitely, I think we're going to have to do that for Jakarta EE.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think with all the new components and everything that will be coming through that process, I think they probably will need to do that. I've never pushed on it before. It's just kind of like, okay, that's what their rules were, and so we just live by them.
Right, but we're all ponying up resources to make this thing successful, and we've just identified a reason that we can't ship technology for the biggest event of the year.
Probably to make an exception.
Well,
So
we can't ship. Hold on, we can't ship for the biggest part of the year, and I suspect their feedback might be slightly different. Right? There's like, I understand where you're coming from, but their point might be then align your releases a little bit earlier so you can make make our review train.
I understand.
But
we need to ask, and then without assumptions, because everything in Eclipse is being adjusted because they cannot use the same rules as they did before. So rules are being adjusted. What is old now is new based on feedback. If we have an issue like we are seeing it now, this is useful to the Eclipse team. So us being, let's protect what is meant to be a form for Eclipse doesn't work. So let's just stop it and let's just move forward and utilize what the issue we have, bring it as a case study and move forward. That's it. It's trying to be nice and compliant with what we know we should comply with doesn't freaking work, especially with MicroProfile.
Well, it's fine to be conscious of the rules, so that's the resource constraint. I think it's okay to be sensitive to that. I don't think it's a bad perspective at all. On that same token, however, we do know that on the Jakarta E side of the fence, we're going to be pushing through 39 releases between now and Code 1. So there's going to be reviews being done. So with that in mind, if we could add ourselves to the list, I think that'd be wonderful. More important question before we would even ask that of Eclipse would be, what would be the right dates from our perspective?
Even before that, what else could we add? What are we asking for? Is it just?
That was. I think we need to go back even further, John, and go back to David's point of defining what the boxes are, because I feel like we definitely need time box releases. I don't care how many boxes they are or when they are, but we need time box releases because from an implementer perspective, it's a frickin' nightmare to plan, like implementing the pieces. If we have a date saying, oh, it's going to be September, and then suddenly it gets pushed 2 months, and then there's 3 more specs implemented in that release, it completely changes the timing around implementing stuff. So I want time box releases, but I don't care when those boxes are. So I think we need to define when the boxes are, and then we can go back to, well, what fits in those boxes and what's ready for those boxes.
I think that would be fine.
How much is the kind of the time we need before a release date? do all the processing and do all the legal stuff and reviews? 3 weeks?
I think what we need to do is probably take a slightly different perspective on it and say we have a very clear cutoff date, and then whatever time the Eclipse processes take, they take. But pencils down date is the one that we're all interested in. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You know, pencils down at X date. So if whatever date that is, I think if we're working it out backwards and negotiating it, then it's not a date.
I guess Ken is is meaning something different. If the pens down date is kind of the 1st of April and the release is to be shipped 1st of May, then JBoss or IBM or Apache, we have to be ready with our implementations and TCK tests and so on at the 1st of May. So there are 2 different dates and both are important. The ones are important for the people who write the specs. The others are important for the people who deliver the implementations.
Yeah, but from Ken's perspective, if it was pencils down April 1st, he knows that there's nothing going to be happening after April 1st. And if it didn't make it in there, it's done, and he can develop against a snapshot. And whenever the actual API jars get released, can happen in tandem to him implementing and planning the subsequent releases of their stuff.
Yeah.
Also implement. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I go.
So implementation can start with the RCs already, RC API jars on one side, and then on the other side, we never required that all implementers are ready on this May 3rd date.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, some releases we did have some stuff ready directly, and some implementers are still on 1.1 or 1.2 and feel good. So I don't think this is really an argument.
Yeah, but at least one implementation can verify the TCK are running okay successfully. I think with one implementation, even without being released, that will be satisfied the TCKs.
No, absolutely. But on the other hand, we had this, at least with metrics, that we all were sort of implementing stuff against the RCs and so, and had the TCKs test with that. So it's not a big bang waterfall that you can't start doing that before the GA jars are available.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a relatively iterative process, or has been.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to say the similar thing is like even in the prototype and verified TCK is good. I think, and then we are confident to release them.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out here then what the next step is here. Do we talk about what are the milestones that lead up to a release that'll help us define the release cadence, or are we basically saying let's define the release cadence first and then we can figure out the rest later?
I think we should find out the dates first.
Yeah, I think like how David was describing it, what are the boxes? So if we're looking forward to 2019, what are the boxes? But I don't think that that's a decision that needs to be made right now. I think our decision at hand is what do we do with the open tracing and MicroProfile 2.1?
Well, it's somewhat related in that we need to decide whether having a box for this year's Code 1 is something we want to do.
Yeah, it's just kind of late to be deciding that that's a box, but yeah.
No, it's always been a box, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it has been. If we're honest to ourselves about it, I think it has been.
It has been a box, but we have never been strategic about it. So I think Kevin is correct. This is not something we can decide today, but I think in the future is feedback for ourselves on Can we add it as a, hey, this is important. We are going to do X by Java 1, which means DevX, all the DevXs in November. And maybe we do 2 boxes. We do DevNexus, which I think is the coolest conference aside from Code One and the United States. I am being biased here, clearly. But if we need to choose, how many boxes are boxes? I would say 2. And I would say,
I was going to go for 3, but so I just did some calculations. So I randomly picked 2 dates. Basically, the 20th of January as like, okay, now it's time to flush out everything you were working on over holiday break and all the other stuff. October 10th as the cutoff date for anything Code 1 related, like that's the drop dead date.
but it's too late.
It's fine. We can adjust these dates. And then that gives us 263 days in the middle. So basically 131 days after January 20th would be our middle box. That would give us 3 firm boxes during the year to do anything MicroProfile related. That feels honest, and it feels like it's enough. If there are 3 versions of MicroProfile released in a year, that's about all I think we can keep up with. If we're planning releases in November and December, I don't think they're going to happen anyway, and we can't exactly whip our teams into shape and doing the implementation work at that time.
Yep.
I'm going to be biased here, Bayon, you're correct. If we limit it to 2 main releases, that is
3.
better. Right now, people are
3.
3, but right now some people, we're talking about adoption now. We're thinking 3 releases will be adopted, but remember, many companies will not want to spend so much time switching to the next release. We need to be cautious.
Right, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not expecting the entire world is updating 3 times during the year. Yes. We're just trying to provide enough windows that innovation can reach the public.
Okay.
And not sit on the shelf for too long.
So probably
even implementations aren't necessarily implementing every single MicroProfile release.
Nope.
What we could also think about, I mean, the release isn't the same like a release. So what I mean is there might be different kinds of releases. Like we do 2 feature releases where we drop big features, and then in the middle we can have 2 kind of update releases where we do smallish features like that. It's just an idea. So you get the idea probably.
Yeah, I prefer like when the things ready to be included to the MicroProfile umbrella release, we should put in. It's not like, okay, you are not allowed to be in. This is kind of, we want to get a new feature in. We shouldn't choose the content. We should just, we put the like a time box there. Okay, we all target for this time. I think it's the spec, individual spec can work towards that box and then to be included.
If I do the calculations and we just pick these dates as the soft dates, January 20th is the first one. 131 days after that is May 31st. And 131 days after that is October 9th. Does that kind of match what we actually did in practice this year?
So what's your point?
What about last year?
Yeah, it pretty much matched what we did.
Right. Well, so then we just say that those are the dates that work, because that gives us 3 dates evenly spaced apart, more or less. I mean, not quite evenly, but
Close enough.
Close enough to account for holiday and stuff like that. So we just say those are our dates. Don't miss them. But we need to agree on the mailing list, obviously. But should we steer towards this?
I mean, if we talk about EclipseCon Europe and Code One as some of these major dates, we may also go back from like mid-October, 1 month back as pencils down, and then calculate the 3 boxes from there.
Yeah, I just think that's unrealistic.
Yeah, I mean, these are soft dates.
Well,
I think what's meant by soft is we may adjust these a little bit depending on conference-driven development, right? The same, who knows what the venues are, reservations may be and the dates may shift, but generally speaking, these are, as long as we define the target for the next release, then I think we're probably okay.
Yeah, and then for the middle one, like we could target Eclipse conference. Like we do a dev nexus and the Eclipse conference in October, like both Code 1 and Eclipse Con Europe.
I don't think there's going to be enough time to do much between October 10th and January 20th, right?
That is one concern that I was having. I mean, if we really are kind of shutting down because of the holidays and stuff, then does that really give us enough time? I don't know.
I'll be back in the same.
I don't know.
Last year.
But a lot of people. So there's some people who tend to use that time of the year as the only time they can actually code on what they want, and so you do see things happen. It's just going to probably be from different people than we would see through the rest of the year.
So we tried this already. Last year we released like October, if I remember, and then we did another release in January. I still remember, like before Christmas, I was busy with the releasing.
Right. Yeah. So basically, it would be like, if you want to be a holiday coder, do all of your fun stuff in your time off and whatever things that you're thinking of. There's a release January 20th, and you better be ready by that, or your next opportunity is May 31st. So
I did shift January 20th to February 1st.
Okay.
I mean, it tacks on 11 days, but I don't know. I just an arbitrary shift on my part. It looks better because it shifts from January to February, but it's really not that much. It's a week and a half, 2 weeks.
But we could kind of be symmetrical there, right? Because if we did February 1st and then June 1st and say October 1st.
That sounds fine to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, first quarter we release one, second quarter we release another one. And then third quarter we release, the third one.
That actually sounds really good.
Mm.
Yeah, that's even.
Yeah.
It's exactly in the holidays.
Right.
How about, to follow up, I can volunteer to say, to add a link and say what are the events happening throughout those quarters that we have chosen, and then we can just, without favoritism, say, hey, we want to be prepared, or at least utilize the same data. We can scale whatever we do for all the events, and instead of just focusing on 2 or 3. And anyone, not only in this group, but any MicroProfile can use that data and be covered and feel strong on this is the documentation, this is what I can talk about, and we can lead them to be much more focused on what they want to talk about based on what MicroProfile is pushing, architecturally speaking. I think about a strategy here. What do you guys think about this? And FYI, via Jakarta EE branding, we are creating a skeleton for all the events throughout the year. So we can copy and paste, I'm saying, and say, these are the schedule for 2019, right? And it's just like easy because it's already done, it's being done. And then I can have a copy paste here, the link, and then we can refer to it. Easy. But I would like some feedback.
Before anyone gives feedback on that, I just did the calculations. The distance between October 1st and February 1st divided by 2 puts us at exactly June 2nd. So
is it prime number?
so June 1st, and I did it for 2019. So June 1st gives us 3 evenly spaced out days with a tolerance of 1 day.
So we have parquet exactly perfectly without even hard. Okay.
So the proposal then is to go from time boxes that were a release per quarter to 3 releases, right?
Acknowledging our industry and what we actually do and how it works out in practice. This seems more honest, right?
Yep.
The problem when we choose time box release, but we don't box them according to what actually happens, is that then that doesn't happen, and we don't have feature-driven releases, and we don't have time box releases, and we're always negotiating the date every time. Doesn't help anybody.
Okay, so I like these 3 dates, certainly for 2019. So then that leaves us the question of what are we doing for the rest of the year? Is there a 2.1 for Code 1, or is there a 2.1 after Code 1?
I think is for this year. I suggest we have a December release. At least I think at that time I'm trying to get probably a few more specs to be included.
Doesn't December get us pretty close to Feb 1 then?
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna say,
too close.
to be honest, there's a lot of us spending a lot of time trying to get Jakarta ready to go for Code 1 so that it doesn't look like it's gone nowhere. And so if there was going to be a time where we're just going to say we've done enough MicroProfile for the moment, I think this would probably be the time, right? So,
and this October, just a coincidence, but that October 1st is very close to the October 3rd date of the review that we were trying to set up for Eclipse. So we could just go ahead with an open tracing release as part of MicroProfile 2.1. That's it.
And then February next year is MicroProfile 2.2.
Right.
So, and if just to confirm this, if we get config 1.4 done till the 3rd of October, would this be a candidate as well?
No, that's review. You have to.
Yeah. So everything has to. I mean, open tracing. They're basically done. So now we can go forward with the review for MicroProfile 2.1. So we're set up so that we can actually submit that for review.
How long does this take to set up? I mean, how much is it?
Well, that's where we have to get the material available at least a week is what they say before the review. So the review is October 3rd. So that would be next Tuesday, I guess. It would have to be ready.
So that means we need the release defined, which we could do. I could do after this call, pretty much. Then the contribution questionnaire, and I have to work with Pavel on that.
Yeah, I don't know if Pavel did that yet or not.
Yeah, I could ping him on that.
And how long does the Eclipse Foundation take from the 3rd to finish up what they need to do?
After the 3rd is their review. So if we have everything all done, then it's basically they just make sure that everything has been checked off, and then they say it's good.
Happen on the same day, okay.
Pretty much.
So I have just one concern, like in Oracle, in Code 1, if we just announce, we said, okay, we released MicroProfile 2.1, just has open tracing inside. What do you think the effect it will give us? Do you think it's people say, oh wow, okay, only one thing? So we don't want to get some negative
I know it might be not a lot, but I think we need to get away from the trying to shake the world on every release. Sometimes it's just progressing along slowly and there's nothing major or earth-shattering.
Or Emily, you can finish config 1.4 like today.
Work 24 hours.
No sleep.
Yeah, no sleep. Yeah, we have a few things we really want to get in. So
I mean, we can make noise of. I mean, I know it'll only have open tracing 1.2, but I mean, we can make some noise about the reactive streams operator.
Yep.
That's released too, right?
Yep.
We can make noise about the WordPress website. What else?
Well, it also shows that we have continued. So, you know, we did 2.0 and it shows our next iteration of the version. So
maybe we could show them the specs in progress.
Oh, there's also the start.microprofile.io that we can try to get that online.
Oh, yeah. So I think we should focus more on the, like, if we can release that definitely big splash.
We hopefully will have also the technical white paper that Lars has been working on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few things we can make noise about. So.
Yep.
What was that? You said that. What's that? Online program we want to add on to the MicroProfile site?
You mean start.microprofile.io?
Yeah, that's it. Is there any update on that? Because we talked about reskinning it so it is a little more clean, matching to our actual site and style. And
the person working on that is Rudy, and he just got a new job at Payara, so I don't know if he's very busy at the moment.
Yeah, probably.
Usually, when you first get a new job, you're absorbed into the.
And any idea if did they hire him for a different job?
So yesterday during the MicroProfile marketing hangout, Devi, who works for Payara, stated he was hired, though he already said it via Twitter. And what we can do, because I believe the last minutes had David working with him, is Rudy started a thread, and we need to revive that thread and get him to, he said he will write the documentation that was really short and it will not take him so much. So let's help him refocus. That means he owe this group and the community an update on all the transfers so that Ryan is correct, so that we can implement it and add it to IO, but also into the Git. Git is first, correct? And then he needs to write a blog that is a retrospective. That was the last call. A retrospective on how easy was it for him to do this? How much help did he get once he got it started or middle of the road? Give us so that others like him can do so. And third, he said he will do a little video within the blog. So he has two things. I bet that maybe David wants to, on this task, to find the thread and then just say, hey, congratulations on becoming a Payara, whatever they call themselves, and then just revive it. He's very busy at the moment, but I don't want to own that task.
I think you described too much stuff because he's not going to have time to do a blog and then a video.
He said, no, he already did the demo. Just like when he showed us the demo, he said he could do that recording and it will be super easy. It takes him 2 minutes.
That's fine. But the most important thing would be, can we get something up?
Yes. And I'm saying, who wants to follow that? I can't do it.
We need to create a repo, I believe was the last status I recall, create an Eclipse repo where he could put all his stuff.
Yes.
It was, I just checked, it was created, but nothing has been putting in.
Then we remind him that it's there and ask him if he thinks he'll have time, we'll work on it with him. If he doesn't have time, then that's the end of the story.
Yes.
Yeah,
and then
he's not a committer yet, so he's going to have to do a pull request.
That's fine. It's not the hardest thing to do a pull request.
Yeah.
So the question is, who wants to follow up with him via the thread? Because privacy doesn't work on this kind of thing. And he created the thread after the call with us a month ago. So, David, do you want to own it? Because you said, hey.
No, I have a lot of action. I walked out of the previous meetings with action.
I know. Like, I can't do it either. Who wants to own it? Openly, via that thread.
I can ping him if you guys want to.
Perfect. But don't ping him privately. Go through the thread, Cesar. I think you can find it. If you don't find it, let me know.
Yeah. Sometimes privately works better, though.
He was hired because he works perfectly in the open. So, come on. And also,
okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, I think we have a plan here. So, in fact, let me. I think we have to take a note here to say plan. Oh, deliver MP 2.1 for conferences includes just open tracing. and hopefully someone can correct what people might call typing. Okay. Let's
Second
see
copy
here.
here.
I have status updates. Status update. We don't need an update on the status update. Here we go. Anyone want to give any kind of status updates for the current working groups? Our or working groups are wrong answer, wrong phrase, but our groups, reactive, service mesh, long-running actions.
We'll be releasing Streams Operators RC1 today.
Yay!
How is Parenthood, James? Thanks for joining us while you are in like Parenthood land.
I'm back at work now. Yeah, that's good.
It's good.
Congrats, Papa.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
So amazing. Like, seriously.
All right, any updates for Service Mesh?
So we are still doing the samples and trying to experiment the ecosystem. I think we made good progress with that. We have done quite a lot of things, so which is good. And then we draw up a plan, so it's great.
Long-running actions?
I was also joined the call for long-running actions. Basically, it's we are at the same time we are trying to get Accent, the event sourcing and CQRS to be engaged with long-running action to see whether we can do better integration and etc. So we are still discussing some technical design things in the long-running action. So I think that's still work in progress. I can add some. I can add something.
Sorry, did you say that you were gonna?
Yeah, I'm going to add a few.
Okay,
pieces.
yeah, just add a few notes there. So there's discussion of concurrency on the MicroProfile group or in the group. So I guess my question is kind of what's the status of this? I haven't checked. Has anyone created a sandbox project? You know, how far along are we in this discussion?
No, it's already has a GitHub. It's called MicroProfile-concurrency.
Yep.
And they made a really good progress with Nathan Raw is leading it, and Stephanie from Red Hat working very closely with him. Yeah, it's a really they made a really good progress.
They do have weekly hangouts as well. For any of you on the call that are participating in that, for whatever reason, the next two meetings are backed up. They're going to be on Thursday instead of Friday. I don't know the reason by it, but I helped them update the calendar.
Yeah, basically Stephanie cannot attend the usual call, so that's why Nathan moved it.
Yeah, I have to read that. I got to catch up on concurrency. Okay. The calendar. So the way we add people to the calendar is there's a MicroProfile Google group that we add people to. And so I guess the question is, who is trying to edit the calendar? Actually, it's the MicroProfile committers group. Right. So to be a part of the group, you have to be a committer.
All right. So basically, Nathan Raw is trying to edit the calendar. At first, I thought it's all the MicroProfile community, everybody can edit it. I lost contact. I didn't know the up to date is only committers can edit it. So in this case, okay, he can only edit it once he becomes a committer.
Yeah, but you can edit on somebody else's behalf, right?
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
that's the recommended approach.
It would be good if I could be added to that group in case I need to add update, MicroProfile reactive meetings ever.
Oh, you're not on that group?
You're not a committer, James?
No,
I'm a
he is
committer, but I'm not in that group.
Yeah, that's easy. So yeah, I can add you to that group.
So why this like this is not automatic? Once you become a committer, you automatically have that added. So you have to manually do it. Whenever
if you want to write the application that does it, we'll support you. I mean, literally, it was a very lightweight process that we came up with. And this isn't something that changes very often, I don't think. So we've kind of been living with it. If this is becoming an issue, then we can, reevaluate. But, for now, it's just, let us know and we'll add you.
And one thing, John and Kevin, can you go into the calendar at another time and just make sure that we follow the standards? There is no need to, a while back we said there is no reason to name or to fully name MicroProfile. MP starts first for the name of the calendar, and then it doesn't need to say Hangout. It can say exactly the topic, because the calendar now is a bit messy with some just use MicroProfile and it's not a standard. So just let's clean it, make it concise so that within the overview of the month, you can actually see what kind of color it is without clicking it. It's just too messy.
Okay. I can look at that.
Yeah, I don't, you see, I don't, yeah. We passed one item I put about the white paper, but Ryan is here. So can we go into the update that he has for us? And then Richard has also an update. We are very short in time, 7 minutes. Ryan, are you here?
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting the mute button. From my side, well, website is up and running. You can read the final infrastructure steps that we did and what's going on. And also there was a request for a document to put suggestions for future improvements and plan for the website. We had something like this already, but it wasn't shared with everybody yet. And also since we switched to WordPress, things have changed a bit. So I am updating that document. I didn't get to finish it today, but I'll finish it tomorrow and send out the link to everyone, or I will add it to this document, whatever you guys think is best.
Do both.
Do both? Okay. And then from there, we can start improving the website with, I think there are some improvements for some user experience. I put on the bottom of the notes future editions that we discussed before, news, events, and videos. I think there might be one more thing, but I'm sure there'll be many more things. And that's it. But so far, everything's running smoothly with it. And yeah. So finally, it's up and running.
That's amazing.
Great job, Ryan. Thank you for all your help on this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep.
Richard, you are here. White paper. Lars is flying right now.
So super fast update. Lars has finished what can be considered the first draft for review. And he's copied it over from a private Google Drive to a public one, but he made a mistake copying. He left all the comments behind. So I don't know what the status is with that, but it's ready for peer review. I think Amelia was going to reach out to some folks. I saw that Cesar had already commented on the original copy.
Can you just open up the file instead of moving it to somewhere else, copying it?
No, Richard, let me update on this side. So Lars, Richard, and Marcus from Liban have been working internally on this document. And a few of you at the beginning of the skeleton for the outline helped, right? And then, like Richard mentions, major rework has been done, and now we are in the final section that says to welcome a few of you who will want to participate on this review. It means that on that side, I will take, the document has been transferred to MicroProfile content under the folder that is for the technical paper. And it is my job to enable the community via a thread, not only here, but via a thread to say who wants to volunteer. And then we go through, we will have maybe 2 weeks, because 1 week was the original timeline. That doesn't work, 2 weeks. Lars has stated today that he's available next week. And I would like this group to add a call for next week Hangout, 11 in the morning, the same. And the focus will be white paper, because even if we open to a few of those in the community who want to be editors, technical editors for different sections, I think it's helpful to have a conversation with Lars after we have given this access, so that we can proactively, talk with him and with Richard and with Marcus myself. Those three have done a lot of work. So it's just, that would be the ideal scenario. And this means a thread will start, and not only those of you here who want to participate, they will have access, but everyone in the community, we get, at least can see how stuff is being done, because we are not going to open the document from, it's going to be public view with access to only a few who actually in writing say via that thread, yes, I want to participate. And we're going to show the community how we do stuff in the open. So that's the internal part. So what do we think about this for next week's call? And those ones here who want to volunteer, you can do it, but you will have to ratify again via writing.
So when you say next week, you mean next week and not the next live Hangout?
Yeah, next week. Lars is available next week and next week. He can join also the community, but I am saying that if we open the document by Friday, the opener is ready now, so I'm going to send a thread to the community and say who wants access to write. And, there will be maybe 5 people, counting a few of you here, but it needs to be done openly this way. And if he's available, because he's available next Tuesday, we have done some calls where it is necessary to have a Hangout. And even if many of us cannot join, I will join, Lars will join, and those ones they volunteer are likely to join also if they can. So I would like for that Hangout to happen.
So I can set up a Hangout for the same time next Tuesday, right? Because we kind of agreed that we wouldn't be covering that kind of stuff in the live Hangouts. That's the reason why I asked the question.
Yes.
So we could have the one-off meeting. I can set that up. So
it needs to be, it needs to be set, and the subject, you need to say focus, technical white paper.
I'm not going to send out the email. I can put down, I'll set up the calendar invite.
And then once you do so, can you contact me and then send me the link? And then I will send the thread and enable for who wants to be, I will do at that line to say, by Friday, let us know. But it will be proactive. We give 2 weeks deadline for community feedback, and we see how it goes. The goal is to have it ready for EclipseCon and Code One. And I think we're there, but I want us to work openly. So that means I need the calendar created for next Tuesday before we send the thread to enable super efficient participation. And this will be flawless, I believe. How to do so, suggestive mode. And it's just, we're very excited. And Richard, thank you so much for being awesome with the comments. He has been really amazing work. Sorry, I am at home, guys. You can see I am at home. That was crazy.
I was still bracing. I was waiting for the impact sound. I just heard it.
I know, like I feel like someone played a musical thing and didn't resolve the melody. Right. I'm waiting for it.
I swear to you.
Yes, so we're at the top of the hour. Amelia, I'll set up the meeting. I'll send you a link, and then we can just go from there. All right?
Yeah, sounds amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have another meeting.
All right. Okay. So to close up the call, thanks everyone for joining. See you in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel. If I don't see you next week at the technical meeting. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good afternoon.